From Greater Sandton and beyond, get ready for the Sandton Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
Ladies and gentlemen, everyone between and beyond, welcome to the Sandton Times Hour. It's edition 220, week 45 of 2025. I'm Alexander Leitner, and a very special welcome to you. If you're listening for the very first time, welcome to the Sandton Times Hour. I hope you enjoy your stay. And if you're a regular listener, well, you know what to expect. And I'm glad to have you back across Johannesburg and Pretoria, South Africa, and wherever else you find yourself in the world. If it's online or on air, I'm happy to report that all is well in Sandton land, especially now that the rains have fallen and everything's looking green and lush. Especially the jacarandas, hey? They're looking absolutely spectacular. And if you've never visited Sandton or Johannesburg this time of the year, well, you should definitely make a plan, because just seeing that natural splendor is just absolutely worth it. Vincenzo back behind the mixing desk, and good to have you back. And yes, I'm all strapped in, Vincenzo. I managed to strain my shoulder so badly that I've been in quite a bit of pain this past week. And you know how it goes if you have pain. It just slows everything down a bit, and it's taking forever to heal. So I'm pushing through with a cocktail of meds and treatments, but the show has to go on, and I'm not going to leave you hanging for your weekly dose of the Sandton Times Hour, so we push on for the next hour at least. All right, there we go, a bit of a hot pack on the shoulder. What are we doing this week? What are we chatting about? In a bit, I'll be chatting to a business leader about her new book, which will help you look after your company's unicorns. What's that about? Well, take a listen. Then he's a well-known comedian bringing his latest award-winning show to Sandton, and I'll be getting all the details for you. As always, we then catch up with our regular entertainment commentator to take a look at the latest entertainment attractions. And finally, I chat to a seasoned cook about her collaboration to help you make the best of your festive spread this year. So you don't want to miss that if you're looking for a little bit of food inspiration. Another jam-packed hour this week, and I'd like to hear from you. If you'd like to get in touch, you can send through your questions, comments, and feedback on email, editor@sandtontimes.co.za. You can connect on social media at Sandton Times. Use the WhatsApp number exclusive to the Sandton Times Hour, 084 Sandton. That's 084 726 3866. Don't forget to visit the website, sandtontimes.co.za, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, which is the Sandton Times Hour on your favorite podcast platform. There are so many, including YouTube podcasts now. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
In a world where leadership books often sound like corporate manuals written by AI, here's one that feels refreshingly human. Feeding Unicorns by Jeni-Anne Campbell, founder of Jaw Advertising and the voice behind The Good Businesswoman, is shaking up the way we think about leading teams, building businesses, and, well, just being decent human beings at work. Part manual, part manifesto, and all heart, Feeding Unicorns is for the leaders who care, sometimes a little bit too much, and who believe kindness, empathy, and clarity belong in the boardroom just as much as strategy and spreadsheets. From paying people what they're worth to preventing burnout to leading through chaos with humor and humility, Jeni-Anne lays it all bare. Lessons written between motherhood, midnight brainstorms, and the messy magic of running an all-female agency. Her message? Good business isn't just about profit, it's about people. And joining me now to talk about her new book, Feeding Unicorns, the philosophy of good is not just enough, and why empathy might just be the next big leadership advantage, is author Jeni-Anne Campbell. And Jeni-Anne, welcome to the Sandton Times Hour.
Thanks for having me.
So Jeni-Anne, to kick things off, I can already see some people rolling their eyes in middle management going, this is just not the way of doing things. Feeding unicorns seems a little bit too magical for me.
Unicorns for me, I come from the ad industry, and it's always this thing where, as I was growing in my career and I would go to interviews, people would say, we're looking for a unicorn. We want this elusive employee who is going to perform very many roles. And let's be honest, we're going to pay them for one role, but we want them to do lots of roles. They're going to be energized. They're going to work hard. They're going to give their all. And they are referred to as these unicorns because they're hard to find and they're beautiful and they really give so much to your business. But what I realized throughout my career, feeling like a unicorn, and what I realized in my business journey, hiring unicorns, is that how dare we actually expect so much of people if we aren't going to look after them in the special way that we're telling them they are? And I wrote this book because I really believe that if you are wanting to recruit top talents, that you need to look after them and show them that they are as special as you say they are. And there's this beautiful synergy that comes when you treat people well.
Well, there's a good old adage, I think, people don't leave bad businesses, they leave bad leadership. And it sounds like that's kind of the general motto that this sort of speaks to.
Yes, for sure. And so you talk about business books, and I think the reason why I wrote this book is because I started out as a designer and became a freelancer, and I never intentionally set out to build a business. It happened organically. And what happened in that journey is that I felt like I never fitted in any room, that there was no space for me because I wasn't this business major. I hadn't set out to be an entrepreneur. So I had that imposter syndrome where I was like, where do I belong? And I wrote this book because it's from real life experience. It's from someone going, you do belong. And it's okay if you don't have that business background. And it's okay that you might not have all the answers. But if you have a few actionable steps that you can take to assist you in building your team, it can really be pure magic. So for me, when we say it's not a business book, it's because it's not the normal business book. It's written by someone who went through that journey and those learnings without that business side.
Like you say, a lot of people like to hire these unicorns, these mystical creatures that can, walk on water and glow in the dark, but are not prepared to feed them and make sure that they stick around. How do you feel that most top talent gets neglected in the workplace? What gets people to call it a day and say, I've had enough, I'm going to find another pasture to go walk through?
I think that, it's a very interesting question because there are a lot of answers. And I think firstly, it would depend on the kind of unicorn and the employee that you've got. And I think one of the key things in my book is that you need to understand the personality of your employee, because one thing that is going to retain one person is not going to be the same thing that's going to retain another. One person's love language might be monetary. Another person's love language might be personal growth and development and recognition in their role. So you really need to understand each employee and what is going to mean something to them. But the key identifier for me is understanding them as human beings and showing up for them, genuinely knowing who they are and genuinely understanding how you can support them in their growth journey alongside your business, not just for your business.
I must say, it certainly resonated with me and understanding what motivates people, because if you have somebody who values time off or time spent with family, you can give them as many increases as you want, but you won't find that you'll get the same results as if you give them some time off to, go watch their kid's soccer game or have an extra day off on holiday.
Exactly. And that's the point. We have, for example, an employee who is a single mom and needs to leave at 1:00 to fetch her child, does homework with the child in the afternoon and hops on again later and then works into the evening. Then young people who prefer going to gym early in the morning and log on a little bit later. And I truly believe that if you hire accountable people, and it goes both ways, that you will really get the best out of people.
It's interesting you mentioned accountability, because a lot of people will say, well, kindness is weakness in business. We can't be kind to everybody. We're not running an adult daycare. We need to make sure that things get done. But you do feel that there's a way to balance empathy with accountability in leadership. There's a fine line.
There is a fine line. But, I've had this argument a lot with people and in my personal life as well, where people say business is business. And it's actually a scapegoat. It's a way of going, I get to be ruthless in business because of money. And if we strive to be good people as human beings, why can't we have the same logic in business? If everyone has that same logic, you are then thinking about your next. You're thinking about your colleague who is going to pick up a project after you. You are thinking about your employee and that they might be overloaded with work and that you need to find a way to support them. If we are constantly bringing kindness into it, now kindness does not mean you are weak. You can be extremely strong and have courage of your convictions while still showing empathy and kindness.
Yeah, I suppose there is a certain strength to showing some sort of empathy or some sort of mercy towards somebody who's going through a difficult time. And I suppose it's the way you kind of interpret it.
Yes, and mercy and empathy doesn't mean you are giving someone a way out. You're giving someone a way through. You're saying, I understand your situation. Let me see if I can help you find a way through it. Not giving them an easy out and going, okay, well, let's give up, take a week off. It's about really helping people work through for the benefit of them and the business.
Which section of the book was the hardest part for you to write and why?
I would say the last section where I talk about feeding yourself in business. And for me, being vulnerable has always been the hardest part of my leadership journey. I've always felt like you need to be extremely strong and never waver because people need to feel like you're steering the ship with utmost confidence. And I realized along the way that you can be confident and human at the same time. You can show that you are under strain without making people feel unsure of the future at the same time. And that was the hardest learning for me, that you do need to look after yourself as a leader too, because you are not able to feed unicorns if you are not feeding yourself.
Somebody listening to this wants to make a change maybe tomorrow. They might want to implement a little something just to kind of steer the ship in the right direction. What would that one thing be that could make a bit of an impact in their business?
I think I would start off thinking about your team and their personalities and what their love languages are. Maybe set up a little workshop, a quick little conversation. Talk about triggers. We've had conversations and laughed about it going, what triggers you? Someone sending a thumbs up emoji. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for you? Because, you're laughing, but it's a real thing. And sometimes tone in emails is so badly misinterpreted. WhatsApps, the way you send a brief or an email, understanding how your colleagues and your team, what triggers them, what energizes them. One simple conversation can lead to really significant change within your business.
Well, that got you thinking. There's a whole book on it that'll get you thinking even more. It's called Feeding Unicorns. Jeni-Anne Campbell, author and businesswoman. Go check it out. Available at all decent bookstores and also online. And Jeni-Anne, it's been great having you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thanks so much.
Time for a quick break and more of the Sandton Times Hour on the other side of this.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
He's one of South Africa's sharpest comedic minds, a master of storytelling, and now officially the odd man out. He's fresh off a hit run at the National Arts Festival and with a brand new podcast that's got everyone talking about marriage, mayhem, and middle age. Stuart Taylor is back on stage this November with his latest laugh out loud show titled Odd Man Out. Audiences in Sandton get their turn from the 17th to the 23rd at the Theatre on the Square in Sandton. And expect comedy that's brutally honest, from life as a suburban dad to the chaos of raising teenage boys, surviving gym culture, and figuring out what learner husband really means. So whether you're a longtime fan or just looking for a good laugh about life's odd moments in November, well, stay tuned, because joining us right now is the man who proves that being the odd one out is where comedy gold truly lives. Stuart Taylor, good to have you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thanks a lot for having me, Alex.
Stuart, your show named Odd Man Out is really based on, I suppose, almost like a cornerstone of comedy, where it's those awkward moments in life that really are comedy gold. Isn't every comedian, their career built on the fact that they had some odd moment or odd life, and that's where the jokes are?
For me, the way I see it, there's two sides of the coin. I think everyone in the world feels like the odd man out at some point. So some people have regular experiences, and if it happens to a comedian, they'll extract the oddness from it. Everyone in the world feels a bit like the odd man out in some circumstance. If you're a parent and you're trying to hang out with your teenagers and your teenage kids and their friends, you will very much feel like the odd man out, my friend. just be in Lift Club with a bunch of teenage boys in your back seat and you'll be like, yo, I am the odd man out of here.
Now, from learner husband to odd man out, you've often had work that explores modern marriage and family life. do your kids and your wife ever have some feedback or some input on your material before it hits the stage?
I used to get that question a lot when I used to do a show called Learn a Husband, because a lot of those stories was about my wife, my wife, my wife. And the truth is, it was a bit of a fictitious my wife. It was the stage wife was made up of many women I knew, that some of certainly some elements of my wife go, oh, that's a good story to make that my wife. So I'm very aware of what I say on stage, that if it's going to embarrass anyone, the situation, it's going to embarrass me. I'd never want them to walk out there going, I can't believe you said that about me.
Well, that's very diplomatic, Stuart, and I think that's what keeps the door open in the evenings when you come home. Stuart, your life in your 40s, suburban comedian, what's been the most hilarious thing that's happened to you of late, the most middle-aged moment you've had?
No, you know what? So for me, I really like to drill down into the human condition. So I will often the idea will come to me after the fact. I'll be driving. Something will happen to me at gym. I'll just kind of lose my will to go to gym and come back home and feel defeated. And I'll kind of think about that experience and go, oh, okay, that's my commitment to gym. I'm the kind of guy who if I can't find parking right in front, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go home. I'm going to buy a smoothie instead. So I'll kind of find the human situations over there and then distill it and try and find the comedy out of that.
Well, Odd Man Out won you an Ovation Award, and it'd be interesting to know how does that feel from a personal perspective? Because certainly you don't go into these shows creating them in such a way that you're like, well, this has to win an award. And that must also be quite awkward to receive an award for your odd moments in life.
No, it is a very interesting thing. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with those awards, because I always feel like the comedy is evolving. Do you know what I mean? And especially because it debuted at the Arts Festival. It was its first time on stage. It had been written. I mean, I'd worked on the material. I'd been working on it for 6 months. Well done. You can get an award for it. But the reason I say I have a love-hate relationship is because one of my favorite sayings is, good is the enemy of great. And when something is good, we don't work on it to make it great. So for me, the award I was like, I'm very thankful. It's great to get it, but I don't want it to make me feel like, oh, okay, cool, the show is perfect now. Because I think unlike a play, which you can perfect, something that evolves, it evolves depending on the audience you're in front of, it evolves depending on the city you're performing in. So I still keep trying it and evolving it. And in fact, shortly after that, I end up playing in APVA. So I think it's a heck of a lot better now than when it won the award, actually.
Well, talking about performing in different cities, I mean, you're performing this in Cape Town and in Johannesburg. And do you find that the audiences are a bit different? Because I bumped into someone from Cape Town the other day visiting Joburg. And they were saying, oh, it's so great to be in Joburg. It's so easy to talk to people. And, you go to lunch, people kind of interact with you. Whereas Cape Town has this sort of strange stereotype of being a little bit cliquey. And, Joburg has, got a different energy.
I think there's somewhat, it's so funny. This question came up the other day, and playing the length and breadth of this country for the last 20 years. I think there's the thing that I will say about Cape Town and Joburg audience, that they're very comedy savvy. The more you watch comedy, the more comedy savvy you become. And so they become, and I hope this word doesn't offend anyone, because you've got to take it from whence it comes. I'm meaning it in a meaning of the word, but I want to say they are more sophisticated comedy audience. And it's not to say that people who live in Kimberley are not sophisticated. I'm saying that from a comedy perspective, like you just get better at watching comedy, and you almost stand up will almost sharpen your sense of humor. And in Cape Town and Joburg, you're cleverer with your setups. You can hide your punchlines a little bit better, and that's quite a fun game to play.
But you've also come from a magician's background. I mean, I remember you used to perform magic for quite some time.
Yeah.
Are you quite happy that you've left the card tricks behind, or do you sometimes still get the itch to, I don't know, pull a rabbit out of a hat, or I don't know, saw a woman in half, or whatever it is that you...
Or have I, is the question. In fact, if you come to Odd Man Out, there might just be one or two bits of magic in the show, in fact. No, I love the art form of magic. So I do know. In fact, I'm sitting here with a deck of cards in front of me right now. I still play with my deck of cards from time to time. And certainly if I'm at corporate gigs and whip out a bit of magic, I still love it.
Your comedy makes people often feel and see their own weirdness, which is also, I think, almost quite interesting about comedy itself, is that it almost is like a mirror to society. They kind of see a bit of themselves in you.
100%. I think you can do a couple of puns and make people laugh, but I think when you're telling experiences, they laugh from a completely different place. You can laugh from an intellectual place because something is intellectually funny. It was a cleverly worded joke. But when I tell you a story and you see yourself in that story, that's when you really double over with laughter, because you laugh from a completely different place. And that's really what I try to do. It's about finding the commonality, showing the mirror, and then having people feel the emotion of it.
Look, you've been doing this for quite some time, and I think this is probably the punchline you didn't sign up for. But what's next for you in your Stuart Taylor story? I mean, do you see yourself doing more shows? Do you feel like there's a different part of you that you still want to explore? I know you also had a very successful television career with Going Nowhere Slowly, which I think people are still referring to, 10, 20 years later. Do you feel like you'll see yourself going back into that again?
I wear many hats. I do lots of corporate work as a person who facilitates corporates, not just, it's great to arrive and do 40 minutes of comedy, but I facilitate conferences, etc., and that becomes quite intense. And I work as a producer. I was the festival director for Laugh Africa, the biggest festival, comedy festival in Africa. I produce lots of content for Showmax. This podcast is up and running now. So on any given day, I wear multiple hats. I guess the question is, which do I focus on? I think I've been so fortunate that I haven't ever really felt like my career is stagnating, because I just there's not enough time to live in it. Because as soon as I'm done with my solo show, I'm off producing a TV show, and I'm behind the scenes creating some online content for a blue chip company as a director or as a producer again. And then I'm hosting a conference next week while I'm trying to write jokes for the next show.
Well, there you have it. Stuart Taylor, Odd Man Out, is on from 17 to 23 November 2025 at Theatre on the Square. Tickets are priced from 180 Rand. You can get them on web tickets, and we'll put the details up on the Sandton Times website. And as Stuart also highlighted, if you want to check out his podcast, it's called Learner Husband Podcast. And it's a fan favorite, and it digs deep into the ups and downs of married life with his trademark humor and heart. And Stuart Taylor, it's been such a pleasure having you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thanks very much, Alex. I hope we see you at the show.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
As we head into the second half of the Sandton Times Hour, my name is Alexander Leipner, and if there's anything that sounded interesting, exciting, but you didn't get all the details during the show, well, don't stress. You can hop onto the website, sandtontimes.co.za, and get the show notes for this week's edition. And there you'll get more details, a breakdown, links, ticketing information, everything you need right there on the website. And also be sure to check out the social media accounts at Sandton Times on your preferred social media platform. And don't forget, we've also got a WhatsApp channel now that you can follow. But you can also WhatsApp us on 084 Sandton. That's 084 726 3866. And feel free to send through your voice note, text messages, and media. And that's the exclusive Sandton Times Hour WhatsApp line. It's time to connect with our regular entertainment commentator, Tat Wolfen. And Tat, as we head into November, it's clear that there is going to be a lineup of festive song and dance all over Sandton.
Well, I always look forward to this time of the year, and I think you've got all the gen there, so why don't you hit us with some nice Christmas?
Okay, so what I've found is, Tat, I've had a quick look through the diaries here, and there's going to be a lot to go through, so I think we're going to break this up over the weeks. The one I've got here is the all-white Christmas classics Light Up Melrose Arch, which is a spectacular classical, musical, contemporary sound event under the stars. The Chamber Orchestra of Johannesburg, conducted by Kutlwano Masote, alongside electrifying beats of award-winning DJ Courtney Paul. So this is quite a new thing, where they're combining electronic dance music with classical music. And it actually is phenomenal. And
I think that sounds quite interesting.
Me too.
To combine the different genres, yeah.
And it works unbelievably well, and I think it's going to be an absolute hit, and that should certainly get people into the spirit of the season. And they say tickets are 300 Rand, 300 Rand, as we would say. Proceeds are going towards the Greendale House palliative and hospice care. So it's going towards a good cause. And this is happening on November 15th in the evening. But we'll put all the details up on the website. The other one is Carols by Candlelight. And this was a spectacular sold-out show in 2023 at Melrose Arch. And they're back with the Drakensberg Boys Choir. And they're going to be performing on Sunday the 16th. So that's the next day. And once again, just really great Christmas carols performed by the Drakensberg Boys Choir at the venue in Melrose Arch. And also, once again, they're going to be selling candles, from what I understand. And each candle represents 65 meals that SA Harvest will deliver to families facing hunger and need during the festive season. And that also just sounds like a really lovely event.
I always support family activity. I don't think families do enough stuff together. But Alex, I have a lovely segue for you, right?
Okay.
I want to talk to you about what the Italians euphemistically call La Famiglia.
Okay.
The mob. Okay.
Oh, right. Okay.
There's a fascinating ESPN documentary currently playing on Disney Plus, and it's called Playing for the Mob. And it revolves around this lower-level mobster called Henry Hill. Sorry, this was set in the late 70s, around 78, 79, right? But Henry Hill was one of these smaller pawns in the mob family. But he spotted an opportunity because the big mob guy in New York was always looking for new opportunities for the mafia to get its fingers into. And Henry Hill noticed that the Boston College basketball team was really playing very, very well. And he thought, why don't we get into the betting racket around Boston College's basketball? Okay, so now the documentary features testimony from players, investigators, and Henry Hill himself. Of course, you're going to hear two sides of the story. Some players will say, no, we were completely unaware of this. We weren't involved. We didn't know. And then you'll get the mobsters saying this guy was on our payroll. So it's really interesting to hear the story from all sides. But what makes this, even the documentary, even more interesting for movie lovers is that it ties in with the Martin Scorsese Goodfellas, which was obviously a very popular movie and still is very well loved by many people. The movie Goodfellas, although it's fictional, it's I suppose you could call it factional, okay? Mm-hmm. It's based largely in fact. And the Henry Hill character that you see in this documentary is also in the movie Goodfellas. And in the movie, Henry Hill is played by Ray Liotta. Now, here's a cute little angle on the documentary, is that the documentary is narrated by Ray Liotta. So it's a documentary about mobster Henry Hill, narrated by the guy who played Henry Hill in Goodfellas. Can you get your head around that?
I'm with you. Very clever.
Yeah. I just thought it was really interesting to see this. And you see now, when they bet on games like this, they don't bet so much about who wins or loses, because you pretty much know who the favorite is when it comes to, Team A versus Team B. It's to do with the points difference between the teams, and the whole scandal was is a technique called point shaving, where you want to keep that difference within a certain margin, and this is where the players were instructed to keep it there. So, for example, if they're doing too well in the game, then they pull back a bit and make some mistakes and let the other team score some points. So it's very carefully orchestrated by very skilled players, and it's interesting to hear their take on it today. And your sympathy has to be with some of these kids, because they were youngsters, right? Young college kids, and I mean, these are your options, right? You can either make a whole lot of money, which is very tempting for a youngster, or you can be a target of the mafia.
Sure.
Is that a difficult choice or an easy choice to make?
Yeah, listen, it's frightening. I mean, especially now with all this debate around, sports betting as as a gambling issue in society, I suppose it also raises these questions about how many of these games, irrespective of what you're watching, is what it is, or is there some sort of manipulation happening behind the scenes in terms of the games, the players, the odds, whatever? I mean, you don't know. There's so many different points at which you can adjust things that you're never quite sure if what you're seeing is what you're getting.
Yeah, because you're dealing with human beings, It's not like you're spinning a roulette wheel, but even a roulette wheel, as we know, you can jippo. But when you've got a whole team of players, definitely the opportunity there for some manipulation.
Absolutely.
And, well, we had that big scandal with cricket in South Africa, but, I wouldn't be surprised if this sort of thing pervades pretty much all sports throughout the world.
Well, there you have a good recommendation. It's Playing for the Mob, paired very well with the movie Goodfellas. And then, of course, if you're wanting to get into the festive spirit, there's 2 great events happening at Melrose Arch. And Tat, we're going to go and scout for some more entertainment and bring it to everybody yet again next week.
I look forward to festively connecting with you again next week, Alex.
Absolutely, Tat. That sounds great.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
So if the sound of sleigh bells and sizzling pans gets you into the festive spirit, then this one's for you. 2 of Johannesburg's favorite food personalities, Hilary Biller and Jeni-Anne Campbell, are teaming up for a deliciously merry culinary experience called Jingle Bell Bites. It's a Christmas cooking workshop with all the trimmings, cocktails, starters, mains, and desserts reimagined for a South African summer. Hilary Biller, well-known cookbook author and culinary writer and former Angela Day editor at The Star, joins forces with self-taught cook, food blogger, and author Jeni-Anne Campbell for a festive food masterclass that's part workshop, part celebration, and all flavor. Taking place on Saturday, November the 8th at Jan's home in Dunkeld. Jingle Bell Bites promises to inspire home cooks with fresh ideas, clever make-ahead tips, and that warm, generous spirit that makes holiday entertaining such a joy. So whether you're a kitchen novice or a seasoned home chef looking to spice up your Christmas spread, stay tuned, because joining us right now is the wonderful Hilary Biller to talk about Jingle Bell Bites. And Hilary, welcome to the Sandton Times Hour.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. It's lovely to chat to you again.
Jingle Bell Bites, it sounds like the perfect thing for the festive season. How did you come about with this collaboration?
Well, I'd met Jeni-Anne Campbell at a book launch where I facilitated a Q&A with her, and I really liked her. And she's run a cookery school in Dunkeld for many years. And I said, well, come on, Christmas is around the corner. Let's get some festive vibe going and do a cookery dem for everybody to show them how easy Christmas can be and how delicious without all the sweet. With a glass of vino in the hand, of course.
That sounds like an absolute vibe. You both have very distinctive cooking styles. How have you managed to kind of bring those two together?
Well, I just think it's lovely to see cookery dems can be quite boring, but if there are 2 different types of personalities, I think that adds so much to it. So you're not just watching one and then another. Jan's more of a traditionalist than I am. So for those who love more traditional cooking with a lovely sort of edge to them, that's Jan for you. And then I like quick food solutions. And so there's me on the other side who comes with quick ideas, and Jan just brings the sort of tradition with a lovely fresh spin to it.
I mean, we mentioned that South African Christmases are in summer, which obviously takes away a lot of the traditional dishes unless you like sitting in a hot kitchen. But what would you say is your standout dish for a South African summer? Like what kind of comes to mind?
Well, immediately, I'm a woman who adores gammon. Gammon is known when it's raw as a gammon, and once it's cooked, it's a ham. I just adore the ham, and you can serve it warm if you were having an evening event or at lunchtime. I love it cold. I'm a lady who goes all out with the glaze, and this year I'm an absolute enthusiast of marmalade, and this year I'm using a treasured bottle of Rex Union marmalade with lots of cloves and other spices, and it's going to look like a citrus party of note.
It sounds divine.
Yes.
Hilary, you ran the Angela Day I'd like to call it support line for many, many years, where people used to phone in with their kitchen nightmares or their recipes that haven't worked out, and we're looking for last minute solutions. And having done this for so many years, what would you say is that one tip for a stress-free festive cooking experience?
You know what? I think these days Christmas has become more informal, especially in this country because of the weather. And I think it's a collaboration. If people can all get together and bring something to the table, which makes it so exciting. But if that's not going to happen, between Jan and myself, we can give you all the answers to making Christmas that's less stressful, with lots of pre-prep and magic tips that only she and I can share with you.
Okay. Sounds very intriguing. So what can people expect from this Jingle Bell Bites workshop if they come along?
Okay, they're going to come along and get a gorgeous cocktail to kick off with. And then I'm going to make the most amazing starter to any festive meal that has all the colors of Christmas. It's the most gorgeous ice-cold soup made with watermelon, Italian tomatoes, and you serve it in shot glasses. It's not too big, it's not too small. There's a lovely hint of vodka in it. And for the kids, you could just leave out the vodka. And then we're moving on to all the nice things of Christmas, the gammon. I'm doing a Moroccan-style turkey or chicken. You can choose whatever bird you want to use this festive season. I top it with a lovely mixture of sort of Moroccan-y spices. And there's this lovely butterfly bird on your table.
Sure.
And then Dan, of course, what's Christmas without potatoes? And she's doing her famous mashed potatoes with fresh rosemary. And then she makes this amazing grilled pineapple and red pepper salad, which is so festive and not boiling hot and not hot, boring vegetables. And then we're finishing off with, I'm doing the most incredible baklava cheesecake. Come on, Alex. I know you love food.
I'm in.
Lovely phyllo crust and then layers of this creamy mixture interspersed with lovely nuts and all the baklava spices and a syrup, and you carry on layering that and you bake it in the oven. And that's really good. Dan says you cannot have Christmas without ending on an upside-down lattice mince pie. So she does this giant mince pie and then does a lattice of pastry on the top, drizzles it with brandy and icing sugar and a blob of ice cream. And what more could you ask for?
Well, not very much, Hilary. That sounds absolutely amazing. And if that's gotten your taste buds going for Christmas, well, you might want to join the Jingle Bell Bites. It's happening on November 8th from 10 to 1:30 at, in Dunkeld. We'll put all the details up on the website. It costs 800 Rand per person, and you get a chance to try and make all these amazing things. And as I said, we'll put the booking details up on the website. And Hilary Biller.
Okay, Alex, can I add one thing?
Yes.
Everybody who attends the demo is getting a copy of Jan's latest cookbook called Celebrations. It's valued at 415 Rand, and that's included in each ticket.
It looks like the Christmas giving is starting early.
Well, thanks so much, Alex. Lovely to chat.
And that wraps up another Sandton Times Hour for another week. Feel free to send through your questions, comments, and feedback to editor@sandtontimes.co.za. Connect on social media @Sandton Times and hop onto the website sandtontimes.co.za for all the latest articles and news. You can also use the WhatsApp line exclusive to the Sandton Times Hour 084 Sandton. That's 084 726 3866 for your voice notes and text messages, or follow the Sandton Times on our dedicated WhatsApp channel. You'll find it under the channel updates. As always, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and join the growing community online. And a very special thank you to all my guests for being part of this week's show, and of course the team behind the scenes assisting in bringing it all to life. A special thank you to you for listening, and God willing, we'll do it all again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the Sandton Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.